Good morning, everyone. Good morning,
Good
Tim.
morning, Sheka. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Saturday PD with Sheka and Tammy of Create and Educate LLC. We are so happy to have you all join us today. I am very sorry that I missed you guys on last week, but Sheka says that Dr. Roz rocked it. So thank you very much, Dr. Roz. As always, we are so honored and humbled to be sandwiched between these two leadership giants and trusted mentors, Principal Hurt and Principal Kafele. Thank you so much, Principal Hurt, for always bringing fire. You came with it this morning. And we want to thank you for your wisdom and guidance on building strong instructional leadership teams because we know that you are absolutely correct. The people you choose for your team can make or break your school. We know that Principal Kafele is on the way and he's coming behind us with more fire, and we cannot wait. We're looking forward to it. As you guys know, Sheka and I are practitioners that offer professional development for teachers and for leadership teams and for leaders and staffs. Between the two of us, we have more than 40 years of experience in education, serving as teachers, assistant principals, and district level administrators. No matter what the position we have served in, collaboration has always been something that has ensured that we were able to be successful. So we try and model this through our Saturday PD because so many times we know that leaders, and I'm sure you hear the same thing. You hear people who are having to work in silos and they get stressed because they feel like they have to do it all by themselves. And we know firsthand that that's the case, which is why we have come up with our work on It Doesn't Have to Be Lonely at the Top. Through collaboration, Sheka and I, along with our amazing school teams that Principal Hurt just talked about, were able to turn around our school situations. We were both rated as unsatisfactory schools. Sheka moved her school to report card grace in a single year, and she's at a middle school, or she was at a middle school at that time. And I was able to move our school's report card with the team and the teachers three report card levels. So we know how powerful it is to have the right people on your team. A, a lot of that growth story that represents my school is actually captured in a case study that NWEA did. And that case study is posted on our website. We're going to provide you guys with the link to our website too, so you can have that. We've collaborated with leaders across the country, and they have helped us to achieve the goals that we want in our schools. So we are the kind of people who want to pay that forward and help other educators achieve their goals. And that's the reason that we founded Create and Educate LLC. Some of the best PD we've ever had has come from practitioners who are right there in the field and getting it done. We invite you to visit our website at www.createandeducate.solutions. Check out our book, Women Who Lead, that can be purchased from our website. That's another place where we model collaboration, which is truly at the core of our philosophies. Collaborating with leaders, providing great leadership tips to leaders in all aspects of life. Continue to check out our virtual experiences. Braley's tour is based on a story by I Am Brown by Latoya Lewis, and Hannah's Wish, which is based on a book by that same name by author Alex Penn, are available now. And we are actually working on 3 additional book tours with independent authors right now that will be coming out and released very, very soon. I am sure that you've seen graphics on how low the percentages are for children who are of color to see themselves in text. We have to change this. And one way that we found that can change this narrative is by purchasing books from independent authors. We have lots of those authors listed in our catalog that we provide free to leaders. So if you are interested in receiving a catalog, please let us know and we will make sure that you get one. But in that catalog, you will see the professional development that we offer. You will also see many of the authors that we are working with that we would love to help you to get into your schools because they have really amazing work. And what we want to do is provide those opportunities to schools and corporations because we love what we do. We are educators, and that is why we do the things that we do. Again, we're so super excited to have everyone with us this morning. Today, we are moving on to the L in our R.E.A.L. acronym, and our focus is on literacy. That is something that really excites us as literacy leaders. You ready for us to get started, Sheka?
I am ready. And just to add what you're saying, Tammy, as well, Principal Hurt really did bring it this morning and talking about a solid team. And one of the other things that you truly want to make sure is solid as well is your tier one instruction. So when you're talking about your tier one instruction and making sure that everyone has a sound understanding of what that should look like, so you don't end up having an influx of tier two and tier three students. When we're talking about literacy today, you definitely want to make sure that you have a lot of these things in place to ensure that that tier one instruction is there. And one of our interviews that we had with Dr. Donyal Dickey, who is a literacy expert, he's one of the people that we really enjoyed interviewing. He talked a great deal about literacy. If you haven't seen that on our page, or either go to our podcast Spreaker page, you can listen to it there. But what we talked about with literacy, this is one of the things that leaders, parents are always trying to find ways to improve. And we talked about some numbers there, some statistics that 2/3 of the nation's third graders, eighth graders, and 12th graders are not reading on the expected grade level. And this hasn't just been a problem during the pandemic. The pandemic actually shed some light on it, but it has actually been a problem for years. So literacy is something that we really know that it's very important to bring that achievement level up for students to make sure that they're successful, to become successful adults in whatever they want to do. So that's something that we definitely provide professional development on for leaders and helping you build your teachers' capacities. But literacy also impacts health, mental health, the employment rates, poverty, crime. So we know that you definitely have to have that as a strong foundation in your school and know how to raise that literacy level in your school in order to move your academic needle. So with Create and Educate's 5 super strengths to a resilient culture, in our R.E.A.L. acronym, we've talked about the respect, the excellence, the accountability, and literacy definitely has to be a part of that. So Tammy is our expert because she is very versed in early literacy. So I'm going to turn it over to her to give us some nuggets on literacy.
Sheka says that she's just as versed in literacy as I am. But I do have the fortune of working with the youngest learners on developing those literacy skills, because what we've discovered is if we get those foundational skills in place early, then by the time they get to Sheka's middle level teachers, they are already equipped with what they need to be able to read to learn. So this morning, we just want to talk to you guys a little bit about helping teachers and making sure that you have systems in place to get those sound foundational skills in place for your students. And we're going to start because we talked about this as we were trying to get planned and thinking through what we wanted to share, we could talk about literacy for the next couple months and not do it justice. But what we thought would be best is just to start at the very beginning. And the very beginning of literacy develops by just developing a print awareness within the children. And how can we do that? Because if we don't start before they get to school, sometimes teachers, when they get them in pre-K or kindergarten, depending on what their first school experience is, today they think that the kids are behind because so many things that we do are based on the fact that kids come to school with some awareness. But what we've put in place, and this is one of the things that I love, love, love about my pre-K program, is no matter where they come from, they're able to work with them on those foundational skills and developing those concepts of print so that the children are able to move forward and to learn, if nothing else, to be aware of what print is representing. And there are lots of guidelines. One of the things, and Shika probably will mention this a little later, is a graphic that we have that really takes you through the trajectory, so to speak, of developing readers. And we will share that at some point. But if you're interested, you need to let us know, because that's something that helps to begin foundationally with developing print awareness, because you cannot get around that. If we take children and just immediately thrust them into a situation where you are forcing them to tell you the sounds that letters make, because that's a very important part of the work that pre-K and kindergarten teachers are going to be doing with kids. You have to give them the space, though, to be able to develop an awareness of print, to even understand what a book is. Because believe it or not all children have access to materials to read or to be read to at home. So when you get your children, make sure your teachers are taking them through assessments that help them to assess the child's print awareness. That starts as simple as giving a child a book and having them to tell you things about the book. Show me the front of the book. Tell me where the title of the book is. Where do you begin reading? And you just open the book to a page and have them to point to where they began reading. And some children, believe it or not, won't start on the left, they'll start on the right. So developing the ability to know that text is read from left to right is something that has to be taught to the child that does not know that. You are going to make sure that they know the difference between a letter, the difference between a letter and a word, the difference between a word and a sentence. Showing me the first word in a sentence, showing me the last word in a sentence, the first and last words on a page, telling them to help you to understand what the punctuation marks are and when you use them. Show me a capital letter, show me a lowercase letter, show me the back of the book. Those are all assessments that you can give to determine what a child's print awareness is. Once
And
you have,
Tammy, just to
okay, I'm
add
sorry.
on to what you're saying
Go ahead,
about
Sheila.
when the parents are coming in and where students are coming in at different levels, schools this year are, getting access to other funding. So I know in some districts they're giving some extra funding to teachers for classroom libraries. So one thing that you do want to assess is whether or not children at home have access to books. We do a
Absolutely.
lot of determining what languages people speak at home. We also need to make sure we know what children have access to. And if that literature is not present in the home, those are things that we want to be intentional about spending our funding on to make sure children have the books, and not just buying the books and giving them to them, but also explaining to the parents exactly what Tammy's doing. When your child is at home, you can send it in the little Ziploc bag a lot of times with the early programs with a note. step by step instructions. This is what you do, because we can't assume that people are not doing things because they don't want to do them. A lot of times they're not doing them because they don't know to do them. So when we provide that information, not just to our staff members and our teachers, building tier one, but also building our stakeholders, our parents as well. So continue, Tammy. We got a few more minutes before we
Okay.
make it out of Principal Pele's way.
I will, but one of the things that I think, and this might be the place for us to press pause, because what you have just explained is one of the things that's super important to us as Create and Educate as a company. We believe in collaboration, and the piece that often is missing from some of our schools is bringing parents to the table to
Mm-hmm.
have and be a part of that conversation about what it is that children need. And you have to think about it through this lens. Would you know if you hadn't been taught? I would not
Yeah.
necessarily know that I need to be discussing the features of a book with children in the home. I know to do that. And so I do it whenever I'm working on a story with Abby or something, but that is only because I know. So we have to equip our parents with being able to help their children at home, because if they help the children at home, it helps the children at school. And that partnership is something that is crucially important. So those funds that Sheikah was talking about, they also can be used to strengthen your parent involvement.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe get your literacy coach or your literacy um, advisor from your district. I don't know what your configuration looks like, but get them to do some workshops for parents. Yes, right now the workshops might have to be virtual, but there are so many different things that you can put together in a small packet to send home for them to be able to participate in the kinds of activities that are going to help them to develop the ability to be able to support children in their literacy learning.
And one of the biggest misconceptions that I know exists, because I'm at the secondary level, you people know how to read at the secondary level, but a lot of times you don't remember these details that took place of how you learned how to read.
Right.
So unless someone is explaining to you why something is important to do with children with reading, you may not know. And we know in secondary programs, we're taught to have, when children come on, that we're expecting them to read to learn, not learn to read. So a lot of those skills don't exist for secondary leaders and teachers. And that's why our collaboration has been so beneficial, because a lot of the things that we didn't have at the secondary level, I was able to pick up from you. And a lot of the
Yeah.
things that you needed to understand about when children feed into the middle school, you were able to gather from me. So that is why collaboration and vertical articulation are so important, and that we
Yes.
actually sit
Yes.
together and have these real conversations that are meaningful, because unless you're talking about those things in the same space, you never know.
Yes, and the power in collaboration, because collaboration is truly a tool that can change the trajectory of where you see your school going. The
Exactly.
power in collaborating is exactly what Sheikah just said. I understand what my role is as an elementary principal who feeds into my feeder school is a middle high school together. But I understand the importance of sending kids to that school who are ready for learning at that level, because that is a part of the grand scope of getting those kids on to graduation and either entering the workforce or going on to college, entering the military, whatever that's going to look like for them. But it starts when they come in the door for pre-K. So when we get kids in the door, pre-K, I start meeting with my pre-K teachers. We start looking at our profile. In South Carolina, we have something that's called the profile of a South Carolina graduate. We're looking at that when they're 4 years old, because we know that it has to start with us, because we've talked about this, and this was one of the things that Sheka and I were able to come together and kind of strategize for our particular settings. We know that we're teaching children how to read when they're pre-K through second grade. But in third grade, we don't have that luxury anymore. They have to be able to read to learn for themselves, or they get behind. And so we had to start thinking about what can that look like? What kinds of things can we do? What structures can we put in place that help this to be the reality for our children when they get to third grade? And I can honestly say it's working. We're seeing that our children are each year coming up more and more ready for the work that they are faced to do when they get to that particular grade level. So there is power in collaboration. If you don't have a trust mate, we encourage you to get one, because you need someone that can help you to center your thinking, of course, but also that can help you to be accountable from your level and to be accountable to the next level or to the level before. You need that articulation vertically, horizontally, whatever that looks like. You do need to find somebody who can be that person for you.
Definitely. And as Tammy stated, a lot of our work is centered around working with leaders and staffs with literacy. So if you need this type of professional development, our schools have increased tremendously in this area. We've been working with other schools who have improved in that area, and we were able to build the capacity of the teachers, making sure they have those foundational skills. And our catalog is something that you can use to be able to make sure that students are seeing culturally relevant representation of themselves in literature, because that is such an important connection to be able to engage students in reading. We also know that the reading events that are required for our Title I plans, especially at our school, were not possible due to COVID. So we partnered with a lot of the independent authors that are featured in our catalog for free virtual literacy events for schools. So visit our website. You can use the events at your schools for free. A great way to engage the students and parents. And you definitely, we encourage you to get the books in order for your students to develop these great concepts of print that Tammy's talking about today, especially for your early learners. But we will continue on with literacy because, like Tammy stated, there's so many different topics that we can touch on. And our R.E.A.L. acronym, we will get to leadership eventually, but that is the last part of our acronym for R.E.A.L. But thank you so much for joining us, everyone that tuned in. Be sure to jump over to Principal Kafele's
Definitely.
page. We are very excited to hear his interview of Josh Tovar, who is also very collaborative and inclusive. We just love Josh in the way that he promotes his school. I told him earlier this week, no one promotes a school like Josh Tovar. So if you are interested in learning that, and you should, because promotion of your school and what's going on is another thing that determines where your school is going in that trajectory. Please jump over to Principal Kafele's page next. Thank you all
Yes,
for
guys.
joining us.
Thank
Have
you,
a
guys.
great
Have a great
weekend.
rest of your Saturday.
Thank you.